just because the demand is high doesn't mean that you should take away the ability for people to be able to enjoy a private tour of a real estate property, especially in our market. We want to be fair. And you know what? If you don't want to limit the showings to one group at a time, they're called open houses. So very simple solution to that problem.
How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Shawn and Matt Show. My name is Matt, that is Shawn, and welcome to our show. Shawn, in today's episode, we have a very special guest with us here today. Do. I want to introduce someone who, I've never met a more well-rounded agent. When it comes to sales, new construction, rentals, investing, insurance, international real estate. Shawn, we're talking about international properties outside of the United States.
Really? Wow.
The man does it all.
Wow.
Introducing the real Rey Gomez.
Hey.
Rey Gomez, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Every time I talk to Rey, he's got like a new thing in real estate that I didn't even know was possible. So Rey, let's rewind the clock. How did you get started in the industry?
Well, good question. My father was really big into real estate. And so growing up, we moved around a lot. He didn't like sticking around in one single property for very long. So I kind of got the hang of it from a very early age. And then one day I decided that I wanted to actually dive in head first and see what it was all about. And believe it or not, my very first experience in real estate was pretty crazy. It's like made for reality TV.
Let's hear it. What was it?
Well, had just gotten licensed, hadn't sold a thing in my entire life, and stopped by the office real quick on a weekend, on a holiday weekend. The only person in the building was my previous team leader. And I told her, hey, I passed my test. I'm ready to go. Like, what should I do? And she was like, you're showing a property in 30 minutes. And I'm like, what?
Just like that.
Just like that. Showed up to the property, didn't know anything about the property. I couldn't answer a lot of the questions except, does the pond convey?
Yeah, I'll get back to you on that one.
Yeah. And learned a really valuable lesson that day because the lady literally looked at me in the face and said, you know what, the next time that you go out and show property to a real buyer, you should know what the F you're talking about.
Wow.
And that was like literally the moment where I said, this is like a legit business and I have to get my head in the game.
Yeah.
I can't just be out here just pretending to be somebody that I'm not. So it really forced me to value my position as a real estate agent. And it showed me a lot about making sure that we are prepared whenever we meet people to talk about real estate and these types of large investments.
You want to talk about a welcome to real estate moment right
that's
there.
A kick, right?
Shawn, do you have any welcome to real estate moments early in your career where you were just blindsided and then you got a realization?
I mean, there are so many. I could talk, but the thing is, real estate, what they don't understand is it's a huge learning curve. Yeah. People think that as soon as they get their license, they're like, oh, I got my license, I'm ready to go. That test has nothing to do with real estate.
Absolutely.
You're learning, and every year you're learning. Every transaction, you're going to learn something new. Honestly, I've been doing this 21 years. I learn every time. And so, yeah, the first time I had a settlement, I didn't know. No one told me what is what, and so we're at the settlement table, and the settlement agent's like, okay, Mr. Buyer, I'm representing Buyer. He's like, okay, Mr. Buyer, how are you going to pay for, where's your money? And back in those days, we didn't wire that much. A lot of times it was a cashier's check or a certified check. And my client's like, oh, I'm just going to pay by personal check. And they're like, everybody at the table. This is when everybody's at the table, right?
Yeah.
The buyer, the seller's agent, the seller, everybody. And they're like, oh my God. Right? And I'm just sitting there like, oops, maybe I didn't tell them that, or maybe I didn't even know. You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing is when you're new, you don't know all those little nuances that you need to know. And it takes doing this to really get in. And it's those hard lessons that dig into your brain and you'll never forget.
Absolutely.
I remember I was talking to Rey one time and I was like, oh man, market's tough. Like, how many listings do you have? He's like, oh, 14. And I'm like, what? And it's like, yeah, I got like 4 contracts sitting in my inbox.
That's
and
amazing.
I think it might have been a new construction community in the
Yes.
Potomac Shores-ish area.
Yeah.
So what happened in between the lady saying you need to know what the F you're doing, and you just casually having like 14 listings?
Well, it was a process for sure. But it was wanting to be prepared and wanting to bring value to people. I started in this business at a very young age. I'll be 21 years in the business this August as well.
Awesome.
And for me, it was like they're looking at me and they're thinking, look at this young punk kid. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And so for me, I had to really like learn the craft and learn the ins and outs, and then like exude confidence in what I was talking about. And that has helped, or that helped me specifically in the beginning of my career. Our specialty was new construction. So I grew to absolutely love new construction, working with builders, helping people build something from the ground up, and made a lot of connections, have kept up with a lot of relationships in that business. And that's what has allowed me to be successful in that portion of real estate.
With your new construction experience, what do you think is like one or two really solid tips for buyers who maybe you're touring them? I don't know if it's pre-drywall or like pre-walkthrough, where you're like, okay, sometimes builders cut corners. Here are the things we're going to look for.
Yes. First and foremost, and sorry, builders, but the builder contract is designed to protect the builder. 99.999% of that contract is to protect the builder. The builder is looking out for themselves as they should. So first recommendation is, if you are looking to buy new construction, have representation. Have representation that knows the business, that knows that specific specialty of new construction. You're going to need it. And number two, always hire your own private inspector. That's
sometimes the builder will use their own in-house inspector or something like that.
Yes, and mind you, the builder does have people that examine the property along the process to make sure that everything is being built to code. But sometimes someone goes on break and they come back and they forgot to finish what they started, and then the next thing you know, you've got plumbing that's not right, roof trusses that weren't installed correctly, materials that are deficient, and so that's why it's super important to always have your own private inspector that will keep an eye out on those things to make sure you don't buy a money pit.
Shawn, you bought a quasi new construction. It was like a gut job.
Yeah.
I mean, like A to F, like scale of 1 to 10. You've been in it a couple of years now. How are things holding up compared to how you thought they would hold up in a brand new house?
Well, so mine wasn't exactly brand new. This was a brand new interior, but still old factors to it, like floors, uneven on that first level because it was built in the 40s, I still have it, and it drives me insane. And I was just talking to the builder's agent yesterday. He's a buddy of ours, and I was like, yeah, my floors are awful. Like, I'm going to end up ripping those out because number one, it drives me crazy that there's a little dips in there. But secondly, they shrink a lot. They're a natural oak, and they shrink in the winter. A lot of people don't realize that natural oak hardwood floors or natural thick hardwood floors can shrink and will shrink a little bit, but mine shrink a lot, and it drives me nuts. So you learn every deal. This wasn't a brand new construction, but I told him, I was like, there are things that I could have gone a little harder on for him, but every circumstance is different too. When I was buying this property, I was like, dude, please get this done. I just need it done. I don't care. Just get it done. Right. Like, because my wife was pregnant and the market was churning. I'm busy. I'm living in a small apartment down the road. It smells. The people above me are super loud. I'm just going nuts, So I'm like, I need to get into this house. So I let some things go just so I could get in, and it's a learning lesson. When you're buying your own property, it's always different. And you'll learn a lot when you do your own properties. When you're representing somebody else, typically I'm a lot harder, right? But when it's myself, I'm like, whatever, I'll take care of it. You know what I mean? Like, that's the kind of in ways when I'm purchasing.
Ray, when you're purchasing your primary house for yourself, not a client, are you able to disassociate with like being an agent and a personal purchase, or are you having all these emotions that Shawn is talking about?
I feel like I do. I feel like I go into it simultaneously as a average consumer and as a professional real estate agent, and so I have kind of like a little bit of the two going in there. But I've learned through this business not to get too emotionally attached until, so I take really, really, really like a lot of care and diligence in making sure that I'm making the right choice, because I know that I help people make these decisions on a daily basis. And so for me personally, I also have to go into it with that sort of mindset. as both a buyer, an average consumer, and a real estate agent / investor.
Gotcha. Well, in addition to the, buyers and sellers that you help out, you also have some real estate investing.
Mhm.
So let's first talk like domestic in the United States. I mean, what does your portfolio look like? I know you might have had a property in California and North Carolina, other places. How'd you get into real estate investing?
Well, my very first opportunity to invest came when my family was living in North Carolina, and I decided that, hey, the cost of acquisition down there is really not that bad. And my father, with his investment mindset, told me, hey, there's a brand new community down the street, not far from where we live, and the builder recently announced that they wanted to sell the model home. And I was like, really? And he was like, yeah, this was 2005. I had only been in the business for 2 years.
Yeah.
I didn't know what, And I was like, and my father was like, you should go talk to the builder and you should see if you should buy the model. And I was like, okay. So I went down to North Carolina for a weekend, spoke to the builder, had an agent that my family had used that went with me, and bought the model home for $125,000.
Wow.
And because it was the model, everything that was inside of it was included. And not only that, the builder said, hey, by the way, we still need to rent the house back from you for 1.5 years until the community is sold out. Is that okay with you? And I was like, absolutely. And that is how I got my first real taste of real estate investing. That property continued to be in my portfolio for about 12 years and ended up selling it in 2017 for $288,000 to the tenant that had been renting it for the last 3 years.
Wow.
I don't care how large the property is, what it looks like. $125,000 for a model home in a new construction community.
Yeah.
That just sounds like a
wild,
good deal.
right?
Amazing. I wish they were like that again. I look for those properties where you could easily get in. And that's where I was telling him, I search for places that still have cheap real estate. That's hard to find. In this area, it's so expensive. Everywhere it's gotten super expensive. But, I'm originally from Pittsburgh, so I always go back to that Pittsburgh route or that Pennsylvania route where you can find some decent, I'll say okay properties for a decent amount, and you can actually rent and be cash flow positive.
Mm-hmm.
So how about the one in California? Is that a Airbnb?
Oh, yikes. The one in California, what a headache that was.
Sore subject?
Oh, man. I'm
Do you
telling you.
still own it, or have you
I sold it
liquidated?
recently,
You sold it
about 4 months ago.
Okay.
It was a property that I, just like a lot of buyers back in that time in 2021, is you had to overbid if you wanted to get the property. And I really sorely wanted that property in North Park in San Diego. And after having bid on 13 other properties and having lost out on those, finally, property number 14 was the one. Had to overbid by over 6 figures, but I got the property, and it was a total gut job. So I overpaid for a property that I was going to have to gut anyway. So another learning curve for me. I had never invested in real estate that far away from my hometown.
Yeah.
So it was difficult to manage a property like that from so far away. So it's a lot of trips to the West Coast, a lot of FaceTime appointments with the contractors. They uncovered stuff that I had never even heard of. And I grew traumatic every time I saw the phone ring, because one time the phone rang and it was a foundation issue, and all work had to be stopped until that foundation issue was fixed. The whole house had to be ratcheted up off the ground. Foundation had to be fixed. House had to be lowered back down. It was a $23,000 pickup.
Oh my God.
Okay, you don't run those numbers.
Yeah.
You don't run the foundation 23K number.
No. And so it was crazy. I mean, the property ended up coming out fabulous, but that whole process was really like another learning curve for me as an investor.
Did you get to enjoy a couple weekends there, or was this only going to be a short-term rental play? What was the play behind the purchase?
Play behind it was going to be an Airbnb property. Ended up being it ended up being a long-term rental, actually. But it was still a valuable lesson for me to be able to dip into the possibility of investing so far away. And actually, although the experience wasn't all that fantastic, in the end, it did turn out as a good investment. It gave me the ability or the interest to be able to invest in places even farther than that.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is everything is a learning lesson, right?
Yeah.
And it's like people get stuck in certain corners because they can't move beyond something. And once you do something, you learn so much, and then it opens other doors and opens other doors. Yeah. But I'm so glad you're saying this, that, when you purchased it, did you do a home inspection? Because when we're in competition like this, a lot of people are just like, look at it quickly. You know, you're a professional, you go through, you look at it and you say, I think it looks good. You know, we can not do the home inspection because you're in competition. It's 3,000 miles away. What are you going to do? So maybe you waive that home inspection.
Yes.
And then
You better believe it.
yeah. And then all of a sudden you own it and you're like, okay, great, I own it. And then you actually get workers in there and you open up walls and you open up floors and you're like, holy cow, this is way bigger deal than I expected.
The surprise of my life that I got when they opened the very first wall and the contractor was like, there's literally live wiring that is like literally hot to the touch. He said it's a miracle this house hasn't burned down to the ground already.
Wow.
And I was like, how about we go ahead and start the process of fixing
Let's
this
turn
place?
off the electric.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, if we can go into the fact that right after the show, I'm getting in the car and I'm going to Ocean City, Maryland. So I'm looking for my second property, my second home, let's call it.
Awesome.
And I'm investing with my brother-in-law. So he and I are going in together. We will Airbnb it, but we will also enjoy it. And, you know, we have young kids from mine 2 years old to his 20-some years old. But, you know, it's all about the lifestyle. It's all about life and being able to enjoy life because it goes quickly.
Absolutely.
And so we are going down right after this to look at homes. And there's already 2 offers on the property. They're going to review offers on Sunday. So I've got to go down there, 22 Windward, I think it is.
What's the price point?
$799.9. So I'm going to go down there, take a look at it. It's not like my favorite property in the world, but it's got some good things about it. It's in the wheelhouse because if you look at some of these houses, the one next to it,
This one?
that's Moonshell. So the next one over.
sorry.
Okay. So this one is like, it's not the most pretty house from the front, right? But it's a 5-bedroom, 3-bath.
Ooh,
And
that's nice.
it's got a really good waterfront. Now the lot
Hey,
comes to a corner there.
Who
so you've
cares
got-
about the front? Let's check out her
Seriously.
back.
That's it. That's it, right? So this is kind of our dream. You can take a left there and go right out to the river that turns into the bay. Ocean City's right across. And so we
That's
are literally
incredible.
going there. I've got showings set up starting at 10 a.m. tomorrow. We're going to see 6 other properties, just seeing them all because I need to learn the market. I need to know what $500,000 gets you, $700,000, and $1 million gets you.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I'm going into this, and when you go into a different state, you're changing contracts. And the Maryland contract is completely different from the Virginia contract. I'm an expert on the Virginia contract.
Yeah.
But the Maryland one, I'm like, ooh, okay. So I'm calling Stacy and I'm like, Stacy, all right, what's this? What do I do here? What's typical, right? And I'm actually talking to agents down there as well. I'm like, how's the market? What do you think I should do? That kind of thing.
It's a cool
So
house.
when I go down there, I'm trying to figure out, all right, who are your inspectors? Who are your title companies? So I've got so much to learn. So on the drive down, my brother-in-law's driving, I'll be researching. But the play is, do I get a home inspection, right? Am I waiving that? Are the other offers waiving their inspections? And these are the things that you really got to think about and digest. And are you willing to take the risk by getting the property, or do you want to keep that inspection in there?
Are there 96 photos?
There's a ton
That's
of photos.
too many photos.
Yeah, there's a
Why
ton.
are there so many photos? I
I don't know. I don't think you
need.
need that many, but
Sean, there was something in the living room I wanted to talk about.
it's the furniture's awful. in
Did
this
you
place.
notice anything in the living room? Ray,
you
maybe you noticed it. What do you notice here? The TV is way too tall.
Yeah.
Oh, way too
Why?
tall.
Why is the TV so
And
high?
tilted. That drives me crazy.
If it's
Yeah.
tilted down, that's the tilt of shame.
Yeah.
When you tilt it down, that means that you installed it too high.
I know.
If only they had a buffet right below it that they could put it on.
Oh yeah,
Seriously.
really.
It's
Hey,
way too tall.
bring that thing down. That's the number one thing that we're going to do is put the 85-inch right there. We're going to have to bring that down. That's the first piece of furniture that goes into the property.
Of course.
Yeah.
Right? But yeah, I was telling my brother-in-law and everybody else that it was like, man, the furniture is awful in this place. And as a real estate agent, you're like, don't look at the furniture. But the first thing I looked at, the furniture sucks in
Yeah.
this place.
Yeah.
So you got 2 days on the market, 53 saves, $799.
Yeah.
What do you think it's going to take to win this property?
I don't want to give too much information, but I think we're going to have to go up to 8.25, somewhere around there. I don't know. The thing is, I don't know that market. So what we've noticed is by watching this, you think, something goes under contract and we're like, when it sells, we're like, holy crap, that thing sold for $50,000 under the asking price. But I talked to the agent. I did a little research on this. I feel like, and talking to her, she's like, I priced it a little bit lower than I felt like I should to try to get that attention, because you've got those price breaks, right? Do you price it at $799.9 or do you price it at $815?
Yeah.
That's always like the tough thing. Where are you going to get your most interest, get it sold quickly, get the best contract? So I don't know. We're gonna see see if we like it first.
Yeah.
I mean, we got to see if we like it first. But I'm doing all the research. I'm talking to my lender. I'm talking to my friends and trying to get all the information that I can, and then make a rational, good decision.
After you see the house, are you going to go to Secrets and have a beer and talk about it?
Yeah.
Seriously.
Have you ever been to Secrets, Ray?
I've never been.
Oh, it's a show.
Yeah,
it's a show. Well, Ray gave us a cliffhanger when we were talking about this.
Okay.
And, on his last topic, he said it gave him more confidence investing in properties far away.
Yeah.
I'm looking at properties by the water. I think Ray may have some experience with investing in properties by the water. Talk to me about what do we got? Caribbean, Mexico. Where are we finding
really?
properties?
So I was at a Tom Ferry event a year ago, and there I met a lovely couple that had some really cool T-shirts with a big old QR code in the back. And meeting started to get a little boring, so I took out my phone, scanned the QR code, and realized that these two people in front of me were real estate agents that own multiple brokerages in Mexico, in Riviera Maya. And I was like, holy crap. And I wasn't even paying attention to what was being said on stage because I was focused on the Mexico real estate. And I was like, Mexico, interesting. So as soon as the event was over, I tapped them on their shoulder and I said, hey, can I talk to you about what you guys are doing? Sure enough, they told me, we've been in business 30 plus years. We control all the listings for developers and new construction, and we specialize in overseas investors and Americans and Europeans, and we give them the concierge service. And I was like, everybody says that, right?
Yeah.
So I said, well, then you know what? I want to go to Mexico next month. And they were like, book it. We'll take good care of you. And I was like, man, this is kind of weird. I just met these people and I'm already booking a trip to Mexico. But literally 30 days later, I was in Mexico being picked up at the airport in their Mercedes-Benz and being driven away, whisked away is what I was saying.
There you go.
Like a celebrity, to check out Puerto Morelos, which is near Playa del Carmen, and eventually Tulum. And I'm telling you, being exposed to that and seeing that with my eyes and seeing the quality of the work and how much control this brokerage has over that Riviera Maya as far as the sales. I mean, their sales record is phenomenal. So they were true experts in that part of Mexico. And I just decided that, well, why not? Why not give it a shot?
That's awesome.
I'm a very conservative real estate investor, so I try to tread lightly and not take too much risk. But this time around, I was like, wow, this is really, really cool.
Had you been to Tulum before?
I had never been to Tulum before.
Never
first
been.
time.
Because I've heard it's kind of like built for Instagram, where they have the nice swings and then the green ivy in the background and some fluorescent lights.
Mm-hmm.
And then you take your picture. But then you walk down the dirt road that has no infrastructure, a little rough around the edges.
Right.
Is that true, or am I just getting bad information?
No, you are absolutely right. Tulum, although very Instagram worthy, keep in mind that a lot of that land is located near a lot of sacred ruins, and so a lot of that land is very, very, very highly protected by locals and the Mexican government. So there's not a lot of ground digging, if you will, for like utilities. There's a lot of solar power. There's a lot of things like that. A lot of candles, at night. But it's really, really unique. It's a very unique area of Mexico. So unique that it's become an international thing. The interest in that part of Mexico, specifically Tulum, and they just opened their international airport 2 months ago.
And Tulum is that airport's different than Cancun.
That is correct.
So
Cancun
Tulum
Cancun used to be your way to get to Tulum. You fly into Cancun, you take a 1 hour, 20-minute ride down to Tulum. Now, starting March 28th, is when they're going to allow international flights directly to Tulum Airport.
Is there a Dulles to Tulum direct situation?
They're working on it.
Okay.
Right now, Tulum Airport is only servicing domestic flights within Mexico.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to understand Tulum. Are you on the water in a high rise? Is there a gated?
I'm in a high rise. It's not gated, but it's right near the main drag before you get to the water in Tulum.
Is it mostly hotels on the water? Like, I'm trying to understand Tulum as a place.
Yeah, it's mostly hotels, but I'm more so in the town proper prior to getting to where all what they call zona hotelaria, which is the hotel zone, which is where you're going to see like the big bucks places where you're spending $1,300 a night to stay there because you're literally on the water. So I'm a little bit a ways from that. And because I'm not familiar with international investing up until that point. I didn't want to go too risky.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to go too expensive. So I bought in the sub $200,000 price point. You know, I'm trying to be conservative
Again,
here.
to find out that that actually exists and that it's actually viable to do it.
Yeah.
Did you have any reservations of buying in Mexico, like the laws and everything else? Like,
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I knew nothing. So once I got together with a competent real estate team, people that I could trust, they educated me. They had me speak to the Mexican lenders. They had me speak to the Mexican title companies, to the developer. I was actually on a Zoom call with both my realtor, the developer, and the lender, everybody, so that way I could ask all the questions that I wanted and get all of them answered all at once. So it was a really, really cool process.
That is awesome.
Shawn, you ever been to Tulum?
I've not been to Tulum. I've been to Riviera Maya, which is, I think, just south maybe of that, or is it north of that?
Actually, the Riviera Maya consists of Cancun,
whole-
Playa del Carmen, and,
Playa del Carmen, that's
and
where I was.
Tulum.
Riviera
Altogether
Maya,
is
that's right.
considered the Riviera Maya.
Playa del Carmen was beautiful.
Gorgeous.
It's been years since I've been there, but I think I don't know where Tulum is compared.
That's
okay,
my
so
next.
just
Tulum is south of Playa
Tulum
del
is
Carmen.
south of
Yeah,
that.
so Playa del Carmen is kind of like in the middle of the Riviera Maya. But Playa del Carmen is going to be my next spot where I'm going to snatch something.
So walk me through this investment. We know where it is. We know what it is. Why? Like, is this a long-term rental? Is this a short-term rental? Is this something you can enjoy as well?
Yes.
What's the play?
Yeah. So historically, I've been attracted to long-term rentals. Like, I mean, I've had properties for over 10 years, and they've done really well. Especially if they do well, I'm going to hold on to them. The Tulum project is going to be a long-term thing because I want to be able to also enjoy it myself, or have my family, or even clients that may want to get away while I'm trying to sell their house. I'm like, hey,
yeah, exactly.
get out of here for the open house.
lead.
Go to Tulum real quick. So so that was the whole purpose of it. And the purpose of it was also that I wanted to make my real estate portfolio a little bit more exciting this time around, you know?
Yeah, a little more exciting than like a duplex in like Cleveland, Ohio, or something like that.
Yeah.
You tell your clients, hey, I got a great property for you to hang out at.
Yeah,
in Cleveland.
exactly.
No, I don't want to.
And then I can also get to know the area by being able to travel there whenever I want and things of that nature. But Playa del Carmen is going to be my next spot that I'm going to be looking to purchase in, only because I can get much larger units for around the same that I'm spending in Tulum. Tulum is really hot right now, so you got to get in early. Now that the airport is open, it's just going to get crazy. So I'm going to move a little north to Playa del Carmen and start maybe acquiring some stuff up there.
So naturally, I'm assuming you're going to have a property management company down there. Is that a real estate company down there?
That's
is that
correct.
What they do? Yeah,
that's correct. They handle everything. Now they charge a pretty high fee, but then again, like I live in a different country.
yeah.
And if I can have people that know the business, that know how to handle it, that do it very well, that may charge a slightly higher than normal fees as far as my opinion, then why not? You know,
Right.
and then like not stress out over it.
Exactly. So this little island right across, is that Cozumel? What is it? Do you know the island?
No,
Cozumel?
Isn't that Isla Mujeres? No, hold on.
I don't know what it is.
I can't see that.
Yeah,
Cozumel. Okay, so I'm going to tell you. So when we were at that
Playa del
Carmen, we got on a little ferry and we went across to Cozumel. And it doesn't look like a huge body of well, it's the ocean, but like it doesn't look like a huge stretch there. But I will tell you, the waves that day were immense.
You got
dude.
rocked.
We were rocking so far sideways, and it was a big thing. It's enclosed, like it's a ferry. But my God, that thing was going sideways, and all those horror stories, water's jumping up, the guy, like people screaming. It was
Cozumel
an
is fun,
experience. Oh yeah,
Been there
yeah,
twice.
we had a good
It's
time.
fun.
Let's bring it back to domestic real estate. Ray, how's your year treating you? Are you working with a lot of buyer clients? Walk me through what's going on with you and your buyer clients.
Well, so 2024 is off to a pretty good start. I've had a lot of buyer interest. There's a lot of buzz going on about rates getting a little bit more favorable. And so people are starting to get a little bit more excited and more motivated. So I've had a lot of people reach out to me, people that I've been nurturing for quite some time now, that feel that now would be the right time for them to jump in, especially before the competition gets too stiff. Even though we're only in February and competition is already kind of crazy for our area. Historically, it's that way. Mm-hmm. But I've seen a lot more interest and a lot more motivation to sort of step in this time around. People had their ability to get into the market and they missed out because it got super crazy. a couple years ago, and now they're not going to repeat that mistake. Now they're like, listen, I don't care if the property needs work. I don't care if it's not in the exact location that I wanted. I just want to get something on the books and invest now and start building wealth through real estate. So I've seen a lot of really good motivation from my buyer clients to jump into the market right now.
The buyers I'm working with, I'm usually getting to the property like, a couple minutes early, 15 minutes early. Yesterday I was in Great Falls and Vienna and then Sterling and then finally somewhere else. But I basically got to the property like 20 minutes or 30 minutes early. Little too much. So I, basically watched 2 groups go in and go out. And, there's solo showings. It's like one group after the next. And it got me thinking about this question that was posed in the Echo Title Facebook group. Will someone please explain to me how it benefits a seller to limit showings to one group at a time when there's pent-up demand? Ray, clearly this question has a certain bias-y, but what are your thoughts on the one showing only or doing showings with like other groups that are in the property at the same time?
Well, here's the thing about that. When I saw that question, I thought to myself, well, what exactly is the problem here? Because just because the demand is high doesn't mean that you should take away the ability for people to be able to enjoy a private tour of a real estate property, especially in our market. We want to be fair. And you know what? If you don't want to limit the showings to one group at a time, they're called open houses. So very simple solution to that problem. But I think the important thing is that even if a seller limits showings to 10 minutes a pop, it still gives the individual buyer 10 minutes to walk in. Now, keep in mind, as you all know, most buyers make 90% of their decision prior to going to the house. If and when they get there and they see that the house matches what they saw online, it'll make up that other 10%. And they'll know right away whether this property is going to be, whether they want to call it home or not. So the benefit to the seller to limit the showings to one group at a time is to make sure that they're playing fair in the market, that they're giving people a fair shot at being able to call that their home. And it allows for people to be able to independently make the decision about whether that home is going to work for them or not without feeling the pressure of a whole bunch of people inside this place all at once.
Shawn, thoughts?
Yeah, it's hard. This is a tough one because, back in the day, there was no limit. There were people in there all the time. Pre-COVID, or maybe a little bit before that, but I think COVID was the time when things started to say, all right, because of what's going on, we have to limit one person through the property at a time. Before that, I can remember going through properties, and I'm sure you do too, where it was just mayhem. Like, who has the key? Where, you know what I mean? Like, who's the agent in charge here, right? So it was really difficult at that time to kind of, you're right. There's positives and negatives to this, right? In one respect, is 10 minutes or 15 minutes or 20 minutes alone enough time for you to register and actually make a decision? Some people, like we've seen when we take around buyers, like they spend 20 minutes at the front door. You know what I mean? Like they just can't get their motivation going. So every buyer is different. But so I'm okay with having exclusive showings. I think it's worked for this long.
Yeah. And
it continues to work. Now, can you start saying no more half-hour showings? We need 15 minutes. Yeah, that's the way to get more people in there to have that privacy. And then you have the open house, like you said. Come back to the open house and spend as much time as you want in here, and that can be a better time for people to actually feel it. So I think it's important to have your own time in there, but how is it benefiting the sellers? Well, that when you're showing a property with a lot of people in there, it might turn you off. So it might benefit the seller to have exclusive showings because, again, every buyer is different. So I don't have a really great answer for you. I could go either way on this, and I've been through both scenarios. But you have to find out what your buyer wants, and sometimes those buyers do not want anybody in there.
I'm going to give a hypocritical answer to the question. First, let's start by breaking down the question. Will someone please explain to me how it benefits the seller? Does this agent, doesn't matter, do they really not know the benefit of how it benefits the seller to have one person in the open house, one person in the house compared to 20 other people? We've all shown houses with like 6 other groups. The only thing I'm thinking about is like, okay, are they in the bedroom? I need to be in the basement. Okay, what room do we go in? And you can barely take in the house when you got to dance around like 4 other people, and you got to, one person's on a FaceTime, the other person has kids running around. So yeah, exclusive showings, I'm not trying to get quantity of showings. I'm trying to get quality of showings. So I love the exclusive showings only. Now, I've been in the position as a buyer's agent where I go on showing time, everything's blacked out except for like 9:15 on Friday night. It's like, okay, well, I'm not going to break into a house at 9:15. I'm not going to show a house at 9:15 on a Friday night. And you call the agent and it's like, well, it looks like everything's booked. Like, all right, well, I guess I'm not showing it.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, would I have been that winning offer with 45 other showings? Like, probably not. So, you know, my thoughts are exclusive showings, do the open houses. But then my hypocritical answer comes in is that I have a listing right now. And after talking it over, I am now doing overlapping showings.
Yeah.
Because the owners are living there. They're out by 9 a.m. They're back by 7 p.m. And I feel like for this unique circumstance with the owners living there, they got a bunch of pets. It makes sense to do overlapping showings.
Yeah, and the other thing that I'll do as a listing agent, and if somebody calls me and says, Shawn, I really need to see this property at 10 o'clock in the morning, but there's another showing, I'll call the other agent. I was like, hey, listen, do you mind if another agent shows up at the same time? And a lot of times they'll be like, no, send them over. So that's a better way of like handling it and saying, all right, if I'm starting to get that heat, call the other agent, or just say, all right, go ahead, and I'll text the agent and say, hey, there's probably going to be another person there at the time. Just be respectful, right?
Absolutely.
Because we want everybody to see it, but we want personal time in that property, because personal time is the right time. It's the time where people are falling in love with it.
Yeah. And also too, regardless of the demand, the seller can only sell the property to one person.
Yeah.
There's only going to be one buyer. So, I guess going off of what you said earlier, I think it's going to depend on the specific circumstances of what the seller's situation is. I recently ran into one where the seller was only allowing showings for 2 days only.
Yeah.
Regardless of how long the home was going to be on the market, only 2 days. Because the seller's circumstance, health-wise, wasn't going to be smart to have people going in and out of the house because of the seller's health situation. So there's going to be different circumstances and scenarios where it would definitely benefit the owner to have exclusive showings, but sometimes, and the open house is a fantastic opportunity for sellers to get as many people in the door as possible. Obviously, as long as they have an agent that can handle multiple people in the house at once, there's a way to handle that. But I think at the end of the day, it is beneficial for an exclusive showing to have buyers, especially in this market, be able to go in there free of distraction to be able to make a decision on what they want to do.
Couldn't have said it better. Are you a big open house guy? Do you do open houses?
I do. I love open houses. For me, it's like a whole event. I feel like it's a party. I feel like it's my chance to show the neighbors. It's my chance to show my client seller, how excited I am to be able to make this happen for my seller. So for me, open houses are fantastic. I look forward to them.
How engaged are you with people that come in? As if to say, how much are you on top of them versus kind of feeling them out, letting them walk around, as opposed to like putting an iPad in their face to sign in?
Yeah. Well, I love giving them the freedom to look through the house. And so what I try to do is I try to stay in a location within the property that makes me central, that no matter where you go, you're going to have to like swing by me in order to get to the kitchen or to get over here. So I try to figure out where in the house should I be during the open to make sure that no one escapes me. So while I give them the freedom to tour the property, I want to be close to them so that if I can see that they're kind of wondering about something, I can jump in and try to I take every single person that walks in that door seriously. I don't care if it's the next door neighbor. I don't care if they're just looking to see what their neighbor did with their design. I don't care because, again, like I said, the open house is an opportunity to not only show your seller the value of doing business with you, but I also want people to know who I am.
Right.
Because you never know who you might meet at an open house that might say, you know what, I'm not really interested in buying, but if I ever sell, I'm 2 doors down, I'm going to call this guy.
That's right.
Because look at the effort he puts in to get this house sold, and look how friendly he is, and look how he treats me with respect, and he takes me seriously. So for me, open houses are basically your chance to shine as an agent.
I'm so glad you say that because I'm right there with you, man. I've been doing this we've been doing it the same length of time, and I'm an open house guy.
Yeah.
And if I'm not, not only that, you get to talk about what you love, right?
Mhm.
Like this is our industry. We're in this, but we also love what we're doing.
Yeah.
And just to be able to talk about that fuels me. It gives me fuel to be able to keep getting up every day. And a lot of times when I'm down or I'm not focused or whatever, my wife will be like, Shawn, you need to go do an open house. Just go do one because you're going to feel a lot better. Because this industry can take you up and down a lot very easily. And so when you're down on yourself and maybe your sales aren't as good, go stand in an open house. Go stand on somebody's open house and talk to people, because there's no better buyer. There's no easier way to meet buyers than standing in an open house and letting them come to you.
Absolutely.
You know,
Yep.
I got a property coming on the market. It's got 2 living rooms on 2 different levels. It's like 3 levels. The first level is the entrance with like the first living room. So I would imagine I would greet people there, but then maybe like make my way up to the second living room. I'm just going to be going up and down the stairs for 3 hours.
yeah,
I think that's the plan. But this Sunday, I'm doing an open house. I got the cookie truck. So I got Captain Cookie and the Milkman giving out 50 free cookies.
Love
so
it.
plan is get all the kids hopped up on sugar, have them bounce off the walls, and the parents are going to fall in love with the house. At least
Free game show on.
That's
Absolutely.
At least that's what I think
I might
the plan
swing
is.
by for a cookie.
Yeah,
I'll
I think I'm.
give you the address.
I'll give you
Actually,
the address.
I will be out. I have to go out there. I'm coming. Is it
Yeah.
12 to 3?
12 to 3.
12 to 3.
So Super Bowl Sunday, are you adjusting your open house hours? Usually we do 1 to 4, but we're thinking 12 to 3.
Well, if it were me and I had a listing that needed to have an open house on Super Bowl Sunday, believe it or not, I'm hosting the open house. I don't care what time the game is. So I'm not making any adjustments. I'm going to do my job and then worry about the Super Bowl later. But no, in all seriousness, I am going to swing by and get some cookies.
No, I mean, both of you guys are going to show up to my open house.
We've done this in the past. Those cookies with ice cream in the middle, you could choose what cook up. They are so good and so effective. And we went to the opening here. Took my whole family. They opened a place right here in Courthouse, and man, it's worth it. So he's going to be spending some good dollar for some good treats for sure.
All right, so Ray, we do a little thing on the program. It's called in or out, whether you are in or out on a property. So let me set it up. And this is like if you were to be in the market and if you had the budget, would you be in or out on a property? So we're going to keep it local. And there is a former bank on Capitol Hill that is now for sale. Have you seen this property before? Let's see. It just came on 9 days ago.
3.9.
36 8th Street Southeast for 3.9. What I'll do is I'll set up the property and then you can let me know if you're in or out. So, I mean, usually we see like old schools, being renovated into houses, but this is an old bank. The old City Bank building on Capitol Hill came on the market earlier this week with Michael Schaefer and Joseph Zork of Coldwell Banker. So it's a unique live and work opportunity. It's not served its original purpose for quite some times, but it was built around 1908 along Barracks Row. So, the space has been renovated over the years with striking front doors, huge windows, egg and dart crown molding, coffered ceilings, brick, I don't know what that word is, pilasters.
Yeah.
Pilasters. Maybe that's a word, maybe not. Pendant fixtures. Despite the renovations, one can still tell from the photos that it used to be a bank.
Yeah.
So for $3.9 million, are you in or out on the bank house?
Anyone who knows me knows how much I love historic homes and older homes. I would totally be in.
He's in.
All
okay.
right.
Walk me through that. So you have this affinity for historic homes.
I do. I love places with charm, places that are unique, and places that have history, like a certain type of history. And this property has all 3 of those. And I love the woodwork. I love all the details. And I love the fact that once you remove all of the bank stuff, you've got a huge property that can be a blank canvas to make that into probably one of the most beautiful properties I would ever have in my portfolio, if I could even afford something like that.
It is pretty cool to see the City Bank there
that's
right
kinda
on
cool.
the outside.
Yeah.
Sean, are you in or out?
This is a tough one for me. While I like the historic side of things and I like the history, one thing, what I really like is having that Citibank on the front of my house. That would be really cool. But for me right now, I think it would cause a lot of investment for me to get it to where I would need it to be. I think, in some ways it still feels like a bank. It still feels like an office. Some of it feels like a library. So I think that it's going to be just too much investment for me. There are some cool features to it. I like the coffered ceilings and things like that. But I would say on this one, I am going to take my $4 million and I'm going to find something else.
All right. So the way I see this was like a roller coaster for me because, converted bank, I'm all ears. I'm thinking like bulletproof glass.
Yeah,
I'm thinking
yeah.
like bank vault. I'm thinking, what was it? The Dark Knight, that bank sort of vibes. And then, you kind of walk in here and it kind of just looks like a disorganized office on the main level. Yeah. Sorry, Ray, just what it looks like to me. Lots of monitors. It's too corporate stuffy on the main level. I wanted a more grandiose bank entrance. I love the tall windows. I love the wood paneling, but everyone can tell where I'm heading with this. I'm out. It's too much bank and not enough living for me. And at 3.9, there are lots of historic properties in DC that can get you a fair amount for 3.9.
Well, I think
that's true.
Yeah, and you know what though? I mean, Ray can buy this and he can gut that interior there, and it will be beautiful with these huge windows and all that sunlight coming through. So
this could be a good office. You could have like a podcast studio in here. You could have corner offices.
Imagine that would be
that's a
awesome.
huge space, and that's the thing is there's no walls right now, right? You can divide that up. You can.
Absolutely.
There's a lot to create there.
Yeah.
Ray, before we go though,
Yes.
can you tell the viewers, listeners, where you work, what team you're with, where to find you?
Yeah, maybe we should have started with that.
Yeah, but we didn't even do that, but we know him so well, right? So,
They don't know who I am yet. How do you not know who I am?
yeah,
No,
how
I'm
do you
kidding.
know now? Ray, come on.
I'm kidding. No, I am actually with Samson Properties, and I'm part of the Shepherd Homes Group, and we're based out of Alexandria, Virginia. And we are a team of close to 30 agents.
Wow.
And we service Washington, D.C., Maryland, and Virginia.
Awesome.
So do you get every lead in Northern Virginia? Like, I feel like the Shepherd Homes Group, it's like, all right, just sold 500 homes last week. It's like every single lead. Like, I feel like everyone I talk to, it's like, oh yeah, Shepherd Homes.
Well, I mean, this year for us as a team, not just me individually, but as a team, we are off to a fantastic start. So, and then last year, we also closed the year out exceeding our goals. We had a fantastic year. We were able to celebrate that together. And this year, we're even more pumped to help even more families, to guide and protect even more families this year. That is our end goal. And I think we're off to the right start so far.
And would you say lead-wise, is this a Zillow-based lead? Is that how you're getting most of
So
the
we do get
business?
leads from Zillow. We invest heavily in high-quality Zillow leads, but also each of the agents on our team has their own sphere of influence. We have all of our pipelines updated every week, so we know what's going on, who's coming, who's going, and we have so much business coming in from other sources besides the Zillow that it really does keep us super busy.
Awesome.
And we're just committed to guiding and protecting our clients every step of the way and beyond. And it's our number one mission is to always help the client win. If the client wins, we win, and we all want to win.
That's right.
If someone wanted to connect with you, where can they find you? Email, Instagram, website?
So I'm on Instagram at The Real Rey Gomez, and that's REY, not RAY. So
Yeah.
you get that right. And then our website is shepherdhomesgroup.com.
And then if you're a real estate agent that lifts weights, maybe they can connect with you as well. Where
If
can
you're a real estate agent,
where can the swole agents connect with you?
well, I mean, think about it. Not only investing in your health creates wealth too, because if you are healthy, then you have that wealth factor of being healthy and being in shape and being able to take care of your clients and being able to survive the roller coaster that is the life of a realtor. But if you want to reach me on Instagram with regards to health, it's at Realtors Who Lift.
There's a saying, I think it goes, a healthy man wants everything and a sick man just wants one thing. Shawn, have you ever worked out at DMV Iron before?
No, but oddly enough, I was with Miguel yesterday. Miguel and I went and drove in a car for about an hour together.
He's my new gym partner.
Yeah, I know. I was asking him. I was like, hey, I saw you and Ray on the thing. And he's like, yeah. I was like, where is that gym? He's like, oh, it's in Alexandria. He loves the gym because he said what they do is they go, it's weightlifters that own the gym. And they were like going to different gyms and finding the best equipment. And once they found that piece of equipment that they loved, they would get that piece and they'd put it in their own gym. So they have all high quality
Super high
equipment.
quality. The vibe there is just, I mean, I joined the gym a year and a half ago, and I have never looked back.
That's great.
It's been such a great space for me to not only grow in health, but also grow my business. I've been able to have the honor and privilege to help 20 fellow gym members invest in real estate, whether it's through selling a home and buying something else, or buying a home for the first time. I've turned some of my fellow gym members into believers that they can accomplish that lifelong goal to buy their first property. So it's been fantastic for me. DMV Iron is not only a great facility to get in shape and invest in that part of your wealth, but it's also opened a lot of doors for me to meet a lot of fantastic people, the owner included, who have helped grow my business, and I'm forever grateful for that.
It's amazing.
Well, the gym is such a positive and like welcoming and trustworthy environment that if you see your agent, working out every, time at this certain time, you're like, okay, this guy's got his stuff together.
Yeah.
I remember having one comment from a fellow gym member that became a client of mine, and she said, the reason why I hired you as my realtor, is because if you have the discipline to be able to come here 5 times a week and take care of your physique, then you probably also have the discipline to take care of your business and to take care of people like me. And so for me, that was like a big eye opener, because I was like, wow, people do take notice, and they do see you, and they monitor how often you come and how serious you are about investing in your health. And it has turned, like I said, it's turned into really good for me for both health-wise and business-wise.
Yeah, and I think the one thing that's tough is finding the time, right? Are you a morning guy? Do you go at the same time all the time? What's kind of your
Good
structure?
question, because a lot of people do ask me that because they want to try to catch me at the gym. But here's the thing. I wake up every morning at 6:15, and the first thing I do is look at my calendar for the day, and that is where I determine when I'm going to make time for the gym. If I have appointments that are super early in the morning, I'm not going to go to the gym super early.
Yeah.
I'm going to finish my appointments and then go in the afternoon, early afternoon, maybe even evening. But I do love stepping into DMV Iron in the morning because it's a great way to start my day.
Yeah. Awesome.
Well, the 3 of us should crank out a workout sometime.
Let's do it.
Of
the
course.
4 with Miguel included. I worked out with Ray once at DMV Iron.
Did you?
It's like the most sore I've ever been. Like 2 or 3 days later,
You never came back.
I know. I never came back. Oh man,
Oh, man.
Getting called out on my own podcast. All right.
That's
Well,
hilarious.
for Ray, Shawn, and myself, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, we'll see you then.
Take care.
Thank you.